Hey guys, Viking 82 here, back with something a little bit different for you today. I'm actually going to be doing an album review, or as I'm going to call this segment, Viking Orations, and mostly going to be album reviews, though I might do a single review depending upon if one comes out that really seems interesting to me and I want to give my thoughts on. I might even do a live Blu-ray or DVD review. Who knows? But for now, it's strictly going to be album reviews. And like I said, I have not done one of these since I first started doing videos. I did a handful, and then I started watching some of the others on here and realized they did it a lot better than me, and so I just gave up on it. But I got an album last year that I'd been looking for a while, and after I listened to it, I was like, I kind of want to do a review for this. And I kicked around the idea to a couple different people, and they encouraged me to give this another shot. And I just want to give a quick shout out to Foxy Pancakes and Count Blaggereth for giving me the encouragement to try this again. I really hope you guys enjoy this. Got some notes here to make sure I give you accurate information and don't, fumble along too much. But getting started, this is actually a 2014 release put out on Extreme Music, and it is the debut full-length album from Nangilima entitled The Dark Matter. Really good doom death. 6 tracks clocking in right around the 42.5 minute mark. Really dig that logo too. I really like their logo, and the artwork throughout this is really cool as well. But yeah, I knew nothing really about this project till late 2014, early 2015 when fellow YouTuber Emilio Crespo mentioned this particular album a couple different times. And the reason he did is because this is actually one of his projects. He is the vocalist of this band. And they are based out of Malmo, Sweden. I believe one of the members is from Spain as well. They formed back in 2013, released 3 singles, and then finally put out this debut full length. And yeah, at the time they were a 3-piece project, though last year the drummer left, and the last time I checked he has not been replaced, so they are still currently a 2-piece. But, yeah, really solid album, in my opinion. Really good debut. Essentially, like I said, you got 6 tracks spread over 42 minutes. And the shortest songs are the intro and the outro, which are both instrumental. The songs themselves range between 7 to right under 10 minutes in length, which I know a lot of people do not like lengthy songs, because there are a lot of bands that try to write really lengthy songs tend to beat a dead horse. They draw things out way past when they should have ended. And you're like, yeah, that should have ended like 2-3 minutes ago and been fine. But not so with Nangilima. The way they write and the atmosphere they create with their music just really sucks you in. And you get so into it. And you could be listening to a 9-minute song, and before you know it, it's over, and you're just like, wow, that did not feel like 9 minutes had gone by. And it's kind of like track 5 off of Philosophem. I'm not even going to try to pronounce that title. I was going to write it down, and there was just no way I was going to butcher that. But, that's 25 minutes long, and you think, oh, God, this is going to get boring after a while. And before you know it, half the song's gone. You're like, well, where did that 12.5 minutes go? And that's the same thing with Nangilima. Like I said, you're listening to a 9-minute song, but then by the time it ends, you felt like you've listened to like a 3 or 4 minute song. It's really well written, and instruments are all well played. And I chalk it up mostly, I think, to the way they use the piano and the keyboards throughout this album. Bands that use those instruments tend to sometimes mix them a little too high, so it distracts you from everything else, so that's all you focus on. But in this case, they're a very good accompaniment to everything else, and it just really helps set that very dark, gothic-y vibe throughout that whole album. And to me, it reminds me of early Paradise Lost, and Tiamat would not be a bad reference point as well. Very, very dark, very gothic-y, and they also use these kind of choir-type vocals. I almost want to say, I always describe them as like the monk choir. They're kind of like, type stuff. They use those a couple different times, but mostly vocal-wise, you have these deep growls that are very intelligible, because unlike a lot of bands, even not only in doom death but just in death metal in general, when you get the more deeper guttural type vocals, excuse me, it becomes a little hard to understand what they're even talking about. But in this case, you can hear pretty much every word he's talking about. And the lyrics on this album, I mean, we're talking about stuff from, pain, sorrow, hatred, anger, nature, death, and this, very dark stuff. So, of course, the music's going to have to match the lyrical themes, but, or should I say the lyrics should really match the music. But he also throws in these kind of higher pitched screams as well. And I was reminded of another band called Ceremonium, who were another doom death band that unfortunately are no longer together. But that's what I was reminded of as soon as I heard it. It's very almost, the growls are kind of, I don't want to say cavernous in the way, say, Ahab were on the first album, but very deep and very, I guess, yeah, cavernous would be a pretty good way to put it. And he also, on probably my favorite song off of this album, which is called The Link of Reminiscence, he uses these spoken word parts that are just so well done. I don't know. That particular song, like I said, is my favorite off here because from what I gathered, reading through the lyrics, you got a song about a man that is basically about to die. And he's trying to fight, hold on for a little bit longer. He's just like, is this how I'm supposed to die? Is this how this is really, things are supposed to end for me? So he tries to think of all these good times and try to take his mind off the fact that he's about ready to die, and it's doing nothing for him. I mean, the first spoken word part, and even to this day, every time I've listened to this album, I've listened to this probably a dozen times or better, and it hits me the same way every time, which to me is not only the sign of a great album, but a great song. And the part I'm talking about, he says, I remember those times walking through fields filled with life and hope. They were times of bliss and era of joy. To remember them now does nothing but drive the knife deeper in. And it's like the minute I hear it just sent chills up my spine. I mean, it just hits you. I heard that part, I'm like, holy shit. That's some dark stuff. And then I actually was listening to this album before I started doing this review, and another song that actually started jumping out at me was Crimson Shroud. And from what the way I take it, this song is basically about a man who feels like he's been wronged and had everything in his life that he enjoyed has been taken from him. Now, whether this is by an actual person or persons or maybe death itself, I'm still trying to wrap my head around trying to figure out what it is. But he's basically saying, he's talking about how he's been wronged, everything's been taken from him, and how he will fight to keep everything that he has. He will fight to the death, and it's very, very angry shit, I have to say. And probably my favorite line is like the very last line of this song. He says, this is what makes me think it's about death. And that it says, it surrounds, envelops, try to take my soul and I'll tear you apart. And just the way he growls at, just like, oh, so fucking good. And the outro, it's kind of weird. It starts out very, like church organ-ish type. And it just, you get the kind of this bell that's rang throughout as well. And I'm just like, that's different. And then it transitions into this nice piano piece that they do that lasts for, I think the song's like 4 minutes long. And to me, it's kind of uplifting in a way. Kind of like, not in the, everything's happy. No, it's kind of like, you've come to the end of your dark journey, and this is how it ends, Finally, death has come and taken you. This is the end. It's just kind of like at the end of a movie where, all this bad shit has just happened, and then they play that somber, almost uplifting kind of piano part, like, all right, it's over, the darkness is over. That's kind of what I get from that. So, yeah, definitely a solid, I think, 9 out of 10 album, and a really great debut. Definitely give this a shot if you're a fan of Doom Death. And like I said, if you like early Paradise Lost or Tiamat or any of those bands, definitely check this out. Once I upload this, I will put a link to their Facebook page, and I'll see if they have a Bandcamp. I'm not real sure if they do, but if they do, I'll put a link to that as well. that's going to conclude this review. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Like I said, bear with me. This is my first one in a long time, and I was definitely nervous doing this, but like I said, hopefully you enjoyed it. And thanks a lot for watching and subscribing. And until next time, stay brutal.